Random rabbit.
Random Rabbit Cult.
Rabbit.
Sign up online. Join us.
Guys, this is our,
Coffee.
our,
Ooh.
our stream. This is our Twitch. Go ahead and jump on there if you ever miss any videos. But we definitely want you guys to jump on our YouTube channel, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know where you're from, what questions you have. And with that, I think it's time for topic number one.
All right. Hello, everybody. So, from the news today, couple of good topics. So, number one, the U.S. infrastructure bill gets close to being law. So there were 10 last time we reported on. There were 10. Now there's 11 Republican senators supporting it, which is enough votes if all Democrats are on board to pass the bill. This plan would affect transportation, broadband, and water. We've known, but the bipartisan agreement right now it leaves out a lot of the Democrats' goals for clean energy and social programs. So those are some of the things that were kind of compromised away. In addition, something very interesting is that even though Joe Biden has promised not to have an increase of taxes on anyone making less than $400,000, the possible revenue raiser in this bipartisan plan is tying gas tax to inflation, which would be it's a tax on everybody and tax on the middle class, even though it's not an income tax, it's still a tax. So that would kind of immediately boom, right out the door. Joe Biden is going to raise taxes, which may be required to pass bipartisan bill, and he's going to have to wait. Does the value of the $1 trillion infrastructure bill outweigh the political cost of breaking this promise so early on, as well as any upset that you would see in the citizens of the country now that you have gas tax tied to inflation, which is interesting because we also have inflation that's really high right now. So if that's persistent for the next year or two, and you tie that to inflation, would that be like a supercharged tax on us? You know what I mean? So I don't really know how that's going to work. It's obviously not been sent through yet, not signed into law, but definitely something to watch for. That we continue to watch for some of these developments. That is a big bill that's trying to come down the pipeline here. So
When you say that, the most predominant people that I feel like are going to take a hit from this are airlines and truck drivers. So those are going to be interesting. I don't know if it goes into effect.
I think the gas tax pertains to the only people filling up at the pump. So I agree with truck drivers and anybody that's going to fill up a gas station. But I think airlines are going to they're going to have their futures contracts working to buy fuel and lock in prices in the future. They have their own kind of game. I don't think they'll be subject to the gas tax. I could be wrong, but I think it's only for people that use like the gas pumps and stuff.
Could be more for commercial airplanes rather than private airplanes. Because they could have, definitely. Yeah. They're still. I feel like people are going to take a hit over here, and even though they're not going to raise taxes on the middle class or anything like that, it's still going to be.
Well, they're not raising. Yeah, they're not raising taxes on like our income. Like they're not like this is a tax raise, but then they're like, but that gas tax is going to raise with inflation. But we're not like we're not taxing your income. We're just taxing. It's going to cost more money at the pump, which is still a form of tax. It's just trying like a different way of squeezing it in there and be like, hey, it's not your income, but
random thing coming out. Josh just got a bike, so that gas tax isn't going to touch him.
Congratulations. That's the investment play here. Everybody, if you're looking to invest, go out, buy a bicycle.
And not a new bicycle, a used bicycle. Because
get those used, refurbished bicycles made of recycled material. Save the planet and save yourself some money.
Bikes are getting put down every day.
A hill.
Oh, man. All right. Topic number 2.
All right. Topic number 2. So Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, has survived its third attempt to be repealed in the Supreme Court. This is quoted from Justice Stephen Breyer. Neither the individual nor the state plaintiffs have shown that the injury they will suffer or have suffered is fairly traceable to the allegedly unlawful conduct. So what that's saying is, in terms of how this case was brought about, whatever was alleged in here did not kind of hold up. They did not feel that it held up to the claims they were making. So that was denied. So that's like the third blow to the parties trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act. As of currently, and I think it's also going to be kind of hard to do as well because it is so big. 31 million people have coverage because of this, and that's 11.3 through people who purchase plans, and about 14.8 million who have obtained coverage under the expansion to Medicaid. So people that are on the state benefit level. And one interesting thing to note about this that we should be looking for is that Chuck Schumer said that he was obviously very happy about the outcome, and he said, okay, this is a good day, and we're going to try to make it bigger and better. So I'm not 100% sure what that means. I don't know what kind of pushback that's going to get. I don't know how much it's going to cost because again, we're spending lots of money, and we're kind of entering territories now where the amount of money we've been spending is starting to kind of grind to a halt. And a lot of, especially from the Republican side, they don't want Obamacare. They think it's an undue tax and a burden on the states. But they did in 2017, Congress did set as part of a tax bill, they eliminated Obama's so-called individual mandate penalties by reducing them to zero. So they did chip that some ago, but the whole ACA is still intact, moving forward, and potentially plans to expand it. So we'll see what that brings down the line.
Sounds good. I feel like this has been talked about for at least all of the last presidential election. Where wasn't Trump saying that he was going to repeal this, or that was like a huge platform of his, or the Republicans in general?
Ever since this was signed into law, there has been significant pushback against it. Republicans definitely don't like it. They don't want it. That was a big part of Donald Trump. Donald Trump had a couple of big policy notes that he wanted to hit in terms of repealing certain things or undoing certain executive actions and things like that. So it was definitely on the agenda, which didn't happen. And we can see here that I just think over time, as more people adopt this, it's going to be much harder to peel this back. Just like it was impossible to let the banks fail during 2008 because so many people have bank accounts, so many pensions were tied up, all this money up in the banks. If you have tens upon tens of millions of people getting healthcare and you take it away, you have to deal with that. Plus, tough to do. It's tough to stand on that stance and get elected, as well as tough to pass that in the Supreme Court. And in this case, I think the Supreme Court didn't rule for any bias. I think they said that what you presented didn't add up. It didn't show damages that you are alleging that are there. So, but I'm sure that's not the end of the story. I'm sure that this is going to become a big central point in politics, and also monetarily, because as this gets bigger and more people are using this program, we're spending more money and we're accruing more debt. That's kind of that big macro theme of just spending, and eventually spending has to end. It's a matter of how gradually we're able to kind of get to that period of time we have to spend less, or if we just crash into it and disaster.
What are your thoughts? You think we're crashing, or we think we're going to ride this one out?
I don't know. I think our entitlements for Medicare, Medicaid, and for Social Security are ending by 2030, 2040, 2050 by estimates over the last year or so. Those are going to be running dry. We're not going to have the money to pay for it. I think Joe Biden wants to put more entitlements on folks. I think that right now in this country we're the most divided we've been a very long time. People for very different things. There's even people out there calling for communism, calling for pure socialism, calling for all kinds of stuff. It doesn't really make any sense but they want it. So there's definitely a lot of emotion, and there's definitely a direction we're going in. But I don't think we're going to crash and burn anytime soon. But do I think that we're heading for a contraction at some point in the next few years? Absolutely. I don't see how we can't. But I don't know when. I don't know how that's going to look. But I think if we just keep giving entitlements without dealing with the amount of debt that we've taken, eventually we're going to have to answer that. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see in my lifetime how we deal with this problem.
Shoot, they're just going to leave it all in our lap and be like, okay, guys, you guys figure it out.
Next generation, all yours.
Thanks for playing the game.
Yeah. Good luck, kids. Have fun.
We played it. Yeah. We played it. We found all the loopholes. Got everyone underwater.
Yeah, we sucked all the value out of this. We're going to leave you with what's left. All right? And you better take care of it because you need it because it's your country.
Are you talking about Earth? Oh.
No, I'm talking about just America. We haven't got the Earth. We can't worry about the Earth right now, bro. We got to worry about America first, baby. Like we got our own problems. No, we'll worry about the Earth next.
We destroyed the Earth. It's your job to rebuild it.